Can everyone? Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Kubeflow community meeting for the 16th and 15th of June 2021. We'll cover off a couple items today. Hopefully we'll talk about some updates from pipelines, from serving, about a trainings and AutoML summit. We're going to obviously discuss 1.3.1, which is the next release of Kubeflow. And then we're going to discuss 1.4, which is the next major release of Kubeflow, or minor release, technically. And then we're going to talk about some stuff about the Kubeflow Slack. If anyone has any other agenda items they need to add or feel very strongly about, please suggest them on the doc, which you can find linked in the event that was, the event that pops up on your calendar when you join Kubeflow Discuss. Okay, so if we'll kick right off into Jan, are you ready to give an update on pipelines?
Yes, this is Yuan. So I just passed it a PR link on the meeting notes. Can you open that?
Where was this? Sorry. Oh, where did you paste it?
I think it's it's the first item in the main agenda.
Is the actual link? Sorry.
Wait, hold on.
If you pasted it into the wrong day, maybe.
Let me do that again. So maybe let me, can I share the screen?
You might be able to, I don't know.
Let me.
I mean, it's easy to if you want me to.
So it looks like you have to stop sharing before I can start sharing.
You just message the link in the chat and I'll just click on it.
Ah, okay. Do that.
It should work. Okay. There we go. Got it.
So taking the chance, I'm updating Kubeflow Pipelines 2021 roadmap. So can you go to Files, change it, and change it to Markdown? Maybe open the file and change it to Markdown view. Yeah, great. So I'm adding the major themes here. There can be other items worked in parallel, but like they are not the major ones. The major ones we are planning are mostly KFP v2 compatible and KFP v2. So we have already released the first version of KFP v2 compatible. So if you are interested, there are some quick links for the design, the tracker project, and our existing documentation. The goals of v2 compatible is that we want to enable the v2 DSL core features for early user feedback while retaining backward compatibility to most v1 features. So it can serve as a stepping stone for v1 to v2 migration, which may happen later the year. And also it will help us validate v2 system design, like performance and scalability requirements raised in the design review process. The timeline is that we have released the first beta release in late May, and we target mid-July for feature complete. And then let me go through the major new features in v2 compatible mode. So first, improved artifact passing. The improvements and changes are like in components, we now support consuming input artifacts by URI. So this is useful for components that launch external jobs that use these artifact URIs, but do not need to access the artifact data. So like a good example can be building a component for deploying to KF serving, then we only need the URI. And also like for launching TF job, etc. Tasks that run distributed in different pods, then we only use the URI in the component. So also we have a new intermediate artifact repository feature, pipeline root. It is configurable at both cluster default, also namespace defaults, also when you author pipelines, and also when you submit a pipeline for running. So the new feature is completely implemented from KFP's side. So it's fully decoupled to Argo, and we changed some default behaviors. For example, artifacts are now no longer compressed by default. That makes it easier to access in different environments and use it with external systems. Also, the new pipeline route supports all the major object stores using Go CDK. So we try to make the feature platform agnostic, and we welcome all the feedback when you try it. And if you find any problems, feel free to report to us. And then we have artifacts with metadata. So like it's majorly 2 points. Support components that can consume MLMD metadata. Also support for components that can produce or update MLMD-based metadata. They are the more detailed description are inside the documentation. And then we have visualization improvements, some new ways and convenient ways to visualize compared to before. And also we have new DSL v2 Python components, which is easier to use. And we save all the KFP runtime semantics in MLMD so that we can then we can use these information to in KFP UI to render all the detailed information in KFP semantics instead of like Argo coupled description. And also we are rebuilding the caching mechanism with MLMD to avoid many problems we had before. These are the major changes in V2 compatible. And then going to KFP V2. Actually, we designed KFP V2 earlier than V2 compatible because it is too much time and cost to build KFP V2, and we want to gain some early feedback. So later we designed the KFP V2 compatible. And for KFP V2, the major goals has been similar. I think all the major features we introduced in KFP V2 compatible were originally goals of V2. And additional changes in V2 is that we want to gain more control over KFP runtime behavior so that it will set up a solid foundation for us to keep adding new features to KFP. And that's really desirable when we experiment with new features. And also we try to be backward compatible with KFP V1 as much as possible, but yeah, please also expect there are some breaking changes. The rough timeline for V2 is that after V2 compatible feature complete, which is mid-July, we will start working on V2. And current plan is target an alpha release in October, and then probably we'll refresh the plan for GA or beta at that time. And the actual improvements in V2 are some new improvements in the DSL, which probably Ajay will be the best person to introduce. And also the two big changes in V2 is one, the pipeline spec will be a KFP specific spec data structure. And also the status of a pipeline run will be a KFP specific data structure. So we are totally decoupling with Argo from the interface layer. And there are many improvements in KFP V2 UI planned for the DAG. We plan to rewrite the DAG with KFP semantics and also add convenient features like panning, zoning, and etc. Other changes include like advanced control flow features that can only be enabled when we can control KFP runtime behavior. And also for caching, we will be able to totally skip the tasks that are cached. instead of like in V1 and V2 compatible, even if a step is cached, we have to sort of run a really fast pod, and that creates problems in some situations. And also we will support TFX on KFP V2. The only other item I put here is that we will set up a vulnerability scanning process, like for security best practices. Yeah, that's the major items here, and yeah, we'll welcome any feedback on these.
Cool. Thank you, Jan. Has anyone got any immediate comments, or if you do, where do you put them, Jan? Just on here, I guess. If you want to make
Just
comments.
comment on the PR.
Yep, cool, awesome. I think that we can move on to serving if Paul is here.
Yeah, I'll get started. I'd like to just ask a couple questions about the pipelines
Sure.
roadmap, if we could. So it seems like quite a bit of work there. Of the items that you have, which do you personally or does your team feel like, are there any that are standouts of all the features that you have there that you particularly feel like are must-haves and really deliver a particular value more than the others?
I think these are all these all stand out really.
I think the key thing here is sorry to jump in. I think many of these features are a result of supporting the new V2 component authoring or the new V2 component experience. So because basically we're kind of putting metadata at the front and center of pipeline, and so that's why a lot of these work are kind of correlated. So, but they're all kind of, I think they're all like the theme here is to really to support, have better support of metadata in pipelines. Having metadata drive, drive caching decisions, for example. Record metadata consistently, and then being able to use metadata to affect orchestration. So that's one theme. The other theme is on the UI side, and this is I think will maybe even take longer time, is to have kind of better visualization, and also showing more information on the UI. And to kind of achieve that, we're going to be doing work like basically creating a new SDK, standardizing on the response from pipeline to capture the pipeline topology and metadata that's returned from the pipeline, and then also basically have a facelift, if you will, right, of the pipeline UI to better show things like artifacts that's generated by the pipeline, better show metrics, and also the control flow features like conditionals and loops which have sort of these sub-DAG concepts. Currently, they're not. They're kind of expanded in line, where we kind of want to, better group them in the UI, so to takes up less clutter. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So just one last question on the metadata, since it's so vital, and I love the work here. Is this kind of in response to having seen also maybe people that are scaling up with lots of pipelines, and is there ways that now this metadata focus is going to help people at scale, either performance wise or from a management standpoint? Is that kind of the thought here?
Yeah, we're hoping that the metadata aspect is not going to degrade scale. Mm-hmm. Right. I think I would say it worked somewhat before, But here we just want to make it, make the recording more consistent, and having user to be able to kind of use metadata for for kind of either driving orchestration or just purely like recording lineage and making decisions based on metadata. So we're hoping this is sort of a feature add without degrading perf or scalability.
Okay, makes
Cool.
sense. Thank you.
So for serve, oh, perfect. Someone's added the link. So for serving, Paul?
Right. So let me see if I can. Do you mind if I share my screen, Matthew?
Is it something that's public? If you could just paste it in, I'll chuck it up on the screen.
Let's do that.
It saves time going back and forth.
Right. So I posted it in the. Yep.
Got it. Just tell me when I'll move.
All right. So yeah, let's get started on the. Okay. Yeah.
Present. Is that right? No. Oops. Oh my God. I've now closed it. That was the wrong button. Oh no, now it's on my screen. Give me 2 quick seconds and I will immediately come back. How do you maximize this? Does anyone know?
Oh, you can click the present button, right? Or is that not?
That, I think that brought it up on, anyway, whatever, just go.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Well,
So
can you just, I mean, isn't it easier for Paul to present while he's and show the slides? I don't know.
If he wants. I don't know how you actually make it maximize the screen without taking over your screen though.
Can you just hit present and not do the pull down? Just see if it double clicks there and see if it comes up.
Because what it did is it brought it to my maximum screen. Can you guys see that?
yeah, I mean, looks.
Wait, do you see it on the full screen? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we see full screen.
Oh yeah, okay, cool, perfect. Go, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So hello, everyone. My name is Paul. I'm a software developer at IBM who has been involved in the KF serving project. As you know, it's the machine learning model deployment on Kubernetes framework. So today I'll just give a brief presentation about what's been going on the KF serving side of things and what the roadmap for the project looks like. So a release candidate for KF serving v0.6 was released a bit over a month ago. With the actual stable release likely being cut very soon. Some notable features include the addition of the KF serving models web app. This was spearheaded by Kimonis from Ericto. So thank you, Kimonis, for this awesome contribution. And so with this web app, users can view and manage deployed inference services straight from the Kubeflow dashboard. There's also been a lot of work put into multi-model serving efforts, creating a more robust framework for serving multiple models in a single model serving runtime or model serving container. And of course, KF serving can now support Knative versions greater than 0.19. So previous versions had issues with the cluster local gateway being removed, and now Knative versions going forward use something called Knative local gateway service. So KF serving was updated to account for this. Next slide. So this slide shows a general overview of the project roadmap. There are quite a few items here, so I'll go into a bit more detail throughout the slides. But yeah, you can see typical items like multi-model serving and stuff like raw Kubernetes deployment support. So let's move on, and I will expound on many of these. So first, for those not familiar, the KF serving v2 data plane protocol is a set of REST and gRPC APIs for inference and prediction servers. So by implementing this protocol, both inference clients and servers will hopefully increase their utility and portability. And of course, interoperability is improved for platforms that have standardized around this protocol. So on the bottom left, you can see how a request payload would look for a client using this protocol. Then on the bottom right, how the response payload would look. So this is significantly different than the V1 protocol that you might be used to with KF serving, where it's simply an instances array for the request and a predictions array for the response. Some frameworks like XGBoost and sklearn support this through the help of ML Server already. And if you use NVIDIA's Triton inference server for your inference service, I believe this can use the V2 protocol. for interaction with TensorFlow, Onyx, and even PyTorch models, since Triton is compliant with this V2 protocol. So the hope here is that at some point make this the default protocol for KF serving. But for now, the V1 protocol will continue to work, as most examples in our repo still continue to use the V1 protocol. Next slide. Yeah, so production-ready multi-model serving has been on the roadmap for a while. And so this is consistently being worked towards. It's something that's needed in order to increase KF serving's scalability. So the current way that KF serving works is that you deploy one inference service for one model. So it's pretty much one pod per model. And you can kind of see how this can lead to issues at scale. You quickly hit compute resource limitations, maximum pod limitations, and then things like maximum IP address limitations and service limitations, as Istio can only handle so many services in a cluster. So the goal with MMS is to overcome these limitations and make model serving more cost efficient. So it does this by enabling the deployment of multiple models into a single inference service pod. So multi-model serving still a work in progress, but an alpha version is already available, has been already available since KF serving 0.5, and an improved version will be available in the 0.6 release. So I guess feel free to try it out. Next. Yeah, so on the topic of multi-model serving, something that I've been involved with is the introduction of, I guess, IBM's internal multi-model serving implementation, which is something called Model Mesh. So Model Mesh is a single Docker, I guess, container which runs alongside what we call a model runtime container in a Kubernetes pod, deployed and scaled as a single self-contained logical Kubernetes deployment, then consumed as a standard Kubernetes service. So you can view Model Mesh as a general purpose model serving management or routing layer designed for high scale, high density, and maybe frequently changing model use cases. So here it serves multiple models per container and allows dormant models to be paged out, loaded just in time if or when it's used again. So this is something that is in the process of being open source, and eventually, well, the intent is to integrate this with KF serving. Next. So this is something that's kind of fresh. So parallel inference support is something that has been desired for a while, especially in the context of multi-model serving. Since many inference servers are Python based, the main blocker is Python's global interpreter lock, which inhibits true parallelism. So work is being done in KF serving to leverage RayServe in order to achieve parallel inferencing. And for those not familiar, RayServe is a scalable model serving library built on Ray, which itself is a framework meant for building distributed applications. So this is, again, quite fresh. A PR was just recently opened by Dan Sun, but you can check out the PR here to see more details on the implementation if you want. Next. All right, so feature stores are, I guess, people are coming to learn that feature stores are critical pieces of ML infra, where you need a central place to store curated features. So Feast is an open source feature store that is prevalent in the community. And so the idea with the KF serving integration is that we gather online features from some user provided Feast online serving endpoint, then pass that to the predictor for inference. This is done in the transformer pre-processing step as shown here. And for those who don't know, a transformer in the context of KF serving is an inference service component which does pre or post-processing alongside model inference and or explainer or explanation. Yeah, so there's currently a PR open that adds a sample Feast transformer as an example. However, the eventual goal is to make a generic Feast transformer available in KF serving as an out-of-the-box transformer. Okay, next. Yeah, so I mentioned the web app earlier being included in the 0.6 release. which should be a part of the 1.4 Kubeflow manifest release. So here are some of the UX roadmap items. Currently, the way you deploy inference services is by in the UI is by pasting and submitting YAML. And so a form-based or maybe wizard-based flow for deploying models would be preferable. And then there's the eventual support for multi-model serving, which utilizes the trained model CRD. Then there's a bit of flux regarding how metrics should be handled in KF serving and what exactly the UI should show. I won't get into details with that, but there's also the aspect of performance, as I believe the current mechanism of polling can result in a lot of load. In any case, you can check out the web app roadmap in more detail at the link listed here. All right. Yeah, so raw deployment support. So this is kind of like a prototype thing. This is being investigated and worked on. There's an open PR for this. So some users have use cases where Knative might not work for them, such as cases where they prefer alternative transports like TCP or UDP, which apparently Knative only supports HTTP. So what was proposed and being developed on is an alternative serving mode that only uses native Kubernetes resources like ingresses, services, and deployments. Then for autoscaling, there's investigation into KEDA or Kubernetes event-driven autoscaling. But yeah, this is something that's in its early stages. And again, an initial PR has been open to implement some base functionality for raw deployment mode. All right. Yeah, so inference graph. Next, there's I guess this is the concept of introducing an inference graph API to KF serving. This is something that has been discussed for a while. So the need stemmed from the fact that a lot of times in production inference pipelines, multiple models need to be chained together to produce the final prediction result. For example, you might have an NLP pipeline where you do documentation classification first, followed by named entity detection or text summary task. And it would definitely be useful in the context of having multiple different transformers feeding into the same predictor instance. So one major goal with this is to make it fast with minimal latency overhead executing the pipeline. There's still much to be discussed here and worked on for this. I think it's great. It'll be great once KF serving has this capability. All right, so one more thing I wanted to cover that I think is a wonderful tool to use with KF serving is something called Iterate, which was an open source contribution by IBM Research. This is an experimentation platform that is capable of handling progressive delivery and release automation for apps and ML models. So in the case of KF serving, it can be used with inference services. So you might have a baseline model that currently receives all traffic and want to safely roll out a new version of the model. So leveraging metrics from something like Prometheus, Iterate will handle the automated rollout by using these metrics to compare, I guess, service level objectives and criteria. So traffic will intelligently shift to the new model if the criteria are met. So I think this was pretty cool when I tested it out a while ago. And I think it's definitely something worth checking out for intelligently rolling out your new model versions. Yeah, so that's about all I have for you today in this presentation. So much of what was discussed was discussed in more detail in the 2021 KF Serving Micro Summit that happened not too long ago. You can check out the slides and links there, which I linked in this slide, to learn more about these roadmap items. And I guess I'm not sure if the community notes was updated, but I'll also link these slides there. And that's about it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Paul. I will make sure that those are in the notes. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just link them down here.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Paul, are there any, maybe I missed it, but the dates on 0.6?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure for any concrete date.
Yeah, I think we are waiting for a doc update for the Capstone UI. So once that is ready, then we can release. There's no blockers for that, so we should be able to release pretty soon.
Hey Dan, thanks for joining.
Cool. Okay, so does anyone want to comment on that before we move on?
Just a question. So 0.6 is kind of a summer or a late summer type of release. Is that kind of the plan? Is it what we're thinking? July, August? I mean, is that?
Yeah, it should be like by end of this month. Yeah. I'm just talking with Kinomers on the UI docs. Once that is done, then we can release.
And then will I assume thoughts for 0.7 in timing, is that going to be before the end of the year or faster than that? I'm just trying to line up.
I think, yeah, it will be like a Q3, end of Q3.
Okay.
We're targeting to like a one release per quarter right now.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic work, guys. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Good to see cool stuff. Okay, so the mini summit for AutoML.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Hi, everyone. It's Andre from AutoML Working Group. So just to give you a quick update, we have already told it on the previous meeting, but we're planning to have also summit for training and AutoML. And really want to invite you to submit the proposal because this summit will be related to any production scale deployments, one-on-one tutorials, and also like some user requests and new proposals. And if you have any thoughts that you can present to the community, especially for training and maybe some production usage of current Kubeflow projects, you are like more than welcome to submit your proposal by using this survey link. Yes, and if you have any questions, just let us know in Slack because the deadline will be end of this week, and we have really great proposals there. So we will keep you updated.
Cool, thank you. 1.3.1. So who is Yanis here?
Yep.
Cool. You gonna go?
Sure. To give a quick update, again, we plan to release a candidate on June 22nd on the next community meeting. That means that right now we're just closing issues that we want to include in 1.3.1. So again, a reminder to all working groups that you should be able to present a version to include in 1.3.1 next week.
Okay, cool. So what time next week?
Right, so the day is again Tuesday. And I guess that we should have finalized it by the community meeting.
Make that red. And if someone could find the actual date for that, that'd be awesome. But I will just make this. So is that for a release candidate for 1.3.1? Or what is that specifically?
Yeah, it's a release candidate.
So what we need from everyone who is a working group, they need to present a version that they propose with manifests or with manifests ready or not yet?
They need to give a version to manifest that manifest will sync to their repo.
Yep. Okay. So updating your manifests and everything is included on that date as well. So if everyone is everyone happy that they can get that done in the next week? I mean, obviously that's a general question, but I mean, I guess if you can't, then please comment on the issue. Cool. Anything else want Yanis to talk about there?
Not really. I think we have covered everything in other meetings as well.
1 and then finish manifests update in your repo. Yep. Cool. So that's the items that we need to do there for everyone. Make sure you've got your app updated for 1.3.1 for whatever you committed to, and that you've updated your manifests so that we can include those in the manifest release of 1.3.1. How are we going to run the next phase, by the way? So will it be a release candidate followed by a testing phase, or what will be next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So after we have a release candidate out, then there will be the testing phase. So first we have testing phase from the manifest working group, and then a testing phase from the distributions, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But what will follow essentially is the handbook, the release handbook that me and Kimonos have been working on, and I think it's in the PR right now.
Ooh, okay, if we can try and get some dates lined up there, that'd be good.
I'll also add some comments for the how to handle the point releases later on in the handbook section, so I have it in mind.
Cool. Awesome. That probably leads. Is there anything else anyone wants to say about 1.3.1 or comments, questions, concerns? Anyone? Nope. Okay. Kimonos, do you want to talk about 1.4?
Yep, sure. So for those who aren't sync, the current release team includes me, David, Vanderspeck, and Rui. And the next phase right now is to submit the PR we were waiting for some more last feedback on the release handbook. George has also left a lot of interesting comments alongside Malini and Anna. And I've worked on integrating most of this into an actual MD file, which we can keep on iterating on and on. What I really try to do when converting this to MD is to try to slightly more define what are the roles expected. So we should have expected dog leads, for example, and define what exactly should each one of those people do. And an important part, as Yanis mentioned, is I'd like to also discuss about the point releases. And in the handbook, I'll add some extra slight information about how to handle the point releases. And the big change with regard to the main releases is that I think we should not invest too much time. For example, the main release will have 3 weeks for distribution testing. I think that for a point release, we can very confidently improve it to 1, at least for the next release, 1, because we will have scheduled phases and the point release will only receive slight security adjustments and bug fixes. So it can make more sense to have a shorter time frame for the point release, so people can also concentrate on 1.4 and not have work on 2 things in parallel. So next steps are the PR of the release handbook. I'll also give an email and a heads up to the mailing list for people to leave their comment there as well. And we've also started coordinating with Rui and David on the release Slack channel. So people who would like to who are interested in the release and what's going on, you can keep an eye over there. Although again, we will be sending emails to the mailing list for important things. And last but not least, and a very important detail, the time frame right now is going to be most probably, we'll consider that the release is going to start from the beginning of June. So maybe the release process is not established yet, but it's been more than a month that 1.3 has been cut. So people have added new features. So we don't expect this to be such a big and tight time frame. We expect at mid-August to start the feature freeze and expect the final release to be at the end of September, because this will also align with KubeCon, which is mid-October. But of course, we have in mind that this might get delayed in some phases, but I think that making it explicit that these are the phases and the timelines will help this process. So we're really eager to see how this is going to play out as the first time with having a written process, and we can keep on iterating and improving it in next releases. So that's the update. If you have any questions, feel free to add them either in Slack or we can discuss them here as well.
So if anyone's got any questions, speak up now or either message them on the mailing list. I'm assuming you're going to send out a mailing list thing so people can message there. Or if you've got something really burning you want to ask right now, please speak up. Or message in the chat if you're not comfortable talking. That's fine as well. Cool. If anyone does that, well, I'll watch the chat. So I think we can move on quickly and end the meeting soon. So there is a Slack that we're talking about. So if you're not already a member, please join it. There will be a more prominent joinable section soon, but right now you have to go to the community page under About of the kubeflow.org, and it's a bit confusing, but you actually click this link here to join. I think we'll probably make its own section on the side here at some point, but for now, this is where you have to go to community, and this link will sometimes expire. It won't expire because of time, but because of number of invites. So if you come to this link and it's not working, please just raise an issue or message someone or tell someone that can help. It's on either on the website Git repo or the community Git repo. So please join. So in the last week, we've done a little bit of cleaning up of really inactive channels, like channels that seriously haven't been used in like 6 months or more. So if there's one that's been removed, unless they were related to a component working group or distro, so those weren't obviously archived. If you want to suggest that we don't archive one of those things, it's very easy to unarchive a channel. So please, message someone in the Slack or message me in the Slack. Also, there is a proposal which we've implemented slightly, but again, it's very much easy to make these changes back and forth. So if you want to discuss the renaming of the channels, so what we've done is primarily what I've described here, which is that the main channels are announcements, general feature requests, and job postings and release. And then everything else is prefixed by something, which is a very standard practice on Slack to make sure that things are grouped together. It's easy to understand how things are related. So if you want to discuss either the prefixes or if they should be done at all, please go on to this issue here and discuss it. And in like a week or two, once we've kind of reached consensus, we'll just stick with whatever the community wants here. So, yep. Other than that, I can see there's another item here. Awesome. If anyone's got any comments on that, please raise them on that issue. It's probably the best place to do it. And if you've got any archive channels that you were a part of that actually shouldn't have been archived, please message me on Slack. Cool. T-shirts?
Yeah, this is one I brought up. So I don't know about y'all, my Kubeflow T-shirts are getting too old, and would like to see if we could get some official Kubeflow T-shirts available for people to self-purchase. Yuan and James, I think probably going to need some help from Taya on this, at least on some approvals, to be able to use the logo and other types of things, pick a vendor. So I have an email out to her, but she's been on vacay. If there's a chance you can help us push this along, I think a lot of people would appreciate it. I'm getting some requests, but I'll put it out to the community. Does the community think that we should have a place where people can buy a Kubeflow T-shirt if they want one?
That'd be cool, I think. Nice to show people support and everything. Who gets the money though? This is the bigger question.
The T-shirt place.
Okay, so we're just selling them at cost, you mean? Effectively selling them at cost?
Whatever they want to make. I mean, look, this is a good question. I mean, I prefer to have a really high quality T-shirt if we can get one, and I'm willing to pay the extra to put it in to get it. So maybe other people have differences of opinion, and maybe we have different options, colors, quality. I don't know how crazy we want to get on, providing people different, but look, what's a t-shirt going to cost us these days? 20 or 30 bucks with shipping? I don't know.
So do you have I mean, obviously not committing to anything, but do we have any ideas of what service or what would we actually do to logistically get this out?
There's a bunch of places, but I think we'll ask Taya, and then whatever she gives us as guidance, we'll probably go either use a vendor suggested or we'll go find one and present it. But if somebody has a good t-shirt vendor that can do custom logo, that, you know, anybody could go in and order and get, you know, they're credible, and, you know, let us know, right? I'd like to make this as minimal overhead as possible and as comfortable for everybody as possible.
We have tried customink.com, and you can like design your t-shirts and also like place an order saying like each person can like buy individually and get it shipped to their address. So it has been reliable. But we have only tried it once, so I'm not sure about the quality of the material, but there are several different options and brands you can choose from. So you can just generate a group order link, just like DoorDash food order, and then people can go and select their sizes, shipping address, and things like that.
Custom ink.
Do they support international shipping? I mean, I'm asking because I'm living out of America, but
I am not sure. Yeah, but we can ask. They might support it.
They should at least support Europe because we've got a lot of people in Europe. So
I see. Okay.
So this is Yuan. So Thea is back this week, so I'll defer to her for the answer.
Okay, I'll ping her again, and I may copy you in if that's okay, just so you heard that. Yeah. Cool. Okay, fantastic.
Cool. Anyone else got any important items that we haven't talked about today? Just raise them now, or we'll end the meeting here.
Well, yeah, I think we have one issue for the KF-Server integration for the authorization policy. Do you want to have? Maybe we can have a separate discussion on that. Maybe we should target for. Do you think we can target for 1.3.1?
If it's related to KF serving specifically, just keep that in the KF serving meeting, unless it's something that affects the whole community.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's related to the Kubeflow integration.
Okay, what do you mean specifically?
So currently the KF serving doesn't work out the box when in the KF server Kubeflow like integration, like especially in the
this. Yeah. You mean because of the it's like the namespace specific issue, right? Where there's a issue with the profile controller, right?
Yes, because by default we don't create if the authorization is turned on, it's still in sidecar is injected, so there's no default like authorization policy created. So by default, like all the requests are rejected.
Yeah, so I thought there is an issue for this. I will post this in the thing. I think
the work that this is merged done. It will also be part of 1.3.1. Then the profile controller will create the authorization policy as expected.
Has that been merged, Kimonos?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. So as long as we release our version for 1.3.1, it should work, right?
It was so correct. The issue is partially fixed. It's not fixed completely. I guess that's what Dan is talking about. And in the last KF serving meeting, we were talking about how we could fix the last part remaining.
Cool. If there's nothing,
if you want to, if anybody wants to learn more details, you can check out the issue.
I'll paste the issue in here. Let me just. KF serving. Is this the correct issue? Not working. Let's paste it at the bottom there.
So then let's continue the discussion. I think Slack is the best place because it's very interactive. So maybe we can start a thread on the serving channel or the notebooks channel, something like that.
Yeah, because last time we spent like almost the entire WG meeting to discuss it, so I feel like we need a separate time, like just to flush out.
Right.
Okay, cool. Sounds like it's specific to, I mean, it is community affected, I agree, but I think we can probably solve this with what other forms we have. So if you have comments, you should raise them on that issue that I just linked in the bottom there, which is about the profile controller and inference services, or message people on the working group notebooks if it's about the profile controller, or working group serving channel in Slack if you want to talk there, or anywhere else that you can think of to message people, I guess. But I'll end the recording here. So thanks guys for coming. It's been a good meeting. Yeah.
I have a question about the 1.3.1 release.
Cool.
I was trying to get like Cognito, AWS like Cognito authentication working with Kubeflow 1.3. And I found that in the manifest directory, there is only there is a manifest for Dex, but there is no manifest for Cognito. And I'm currently like trying it out. For 1.2, I was able to set up. So I'm hoping for 1.3 also it would work. I saw that there is a cutoff date of Tuesday, next Tuesday for something on 1.3.1. So if I want to get that manifest, if it works, and if I want to get that manifest in, what is the process I need to follow? Where do I get started?
So I'm not going to answer specifically for the manifest working group, but I think the idea of the manifest working group was to make a generic distribution that could be edited, not distribution, a generic set of manifests that are not specific to any vendor. Okay. And so manifest probably wouldn't be the right place for that. I know for a fact that certain distributions already support Cognito. I think Kubeflow might be one of them. There probably are other managed or other non-managed distributions that support Cognito as well. So if you want to contribute to those, it might be better, unless there's something about the current manifest structure which is preventing those working properly, which I doubt. I mean, Kimonis or Yanis should comment here, but
let me ask something first. Hi Suraj, this is Yanis. I'm a tech lead in the manifest working group. I want to ask, are you asking, so do you want to contribute that as part of the AWS distribution? Because right now the person responsible for that is Yao Xiao from AWS. I don't know if you, do you know Yao?
I know about Yao. He is actually on vacation.
Okay.
I tried to ping him. So every release was coming out with like 2 manifests for AWS. One was like with Dex and one was with Cognito.
Okay.
For 3, for some reason, the Cognito one does not exist. I don't know the reason for that. And
right, so Yao is the person to ask for that. Like Yao is the one that is owning the AWS manifest. I'm guessing that you're asking as an AWS contributor, right?
Yes.
Right. So
can you clarify?
He's not reachable till the end of the month. So, and I saw that there is a 1.3.1 release. So I was hoping if I'm able to test out, and if there is a process, I can like start looking into that process.
Can you clarify what you mean by, because the manifests don't really have specific settings anymore. They're just kind of there. They're not, the KDEF files don't exist really anymore. Which one are you talking about? What would it look like to actually include your contribution?
Do you mind if I send you a link?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Just give me like one moment to just point the right repository.
Right.
Because I don't believe the KFDF
I think
files.
we can, right. I think we can wrap this meeting and continue the discussion just on that.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for coming, guys. Looking forward to, so the actions everyone needs to remember about are make sure you have your 1.3.1 stuff finished by the end of, so by Tuesday next week. So if you can't do that for some reason, please comment on the issue that's linked in the discussion. Everything else is pretty simple. So yeah, that's the main thing to remember. Thanks guys for coming.